inches. So it's up to us to keep it professional. This year, I'd like to start and stop on time. We are 10 minutes late, but folks were getting food and getting out of other meetings. But moving forward, I will be starting at 11:30 and I will be getting us out on time. So please be punctual. And somewhat new for this year, we are giving our members and presenters the opportunity to sponsor lunches. Christine Schwendinger to my right with Valley Builders Exchange stepped up immediately to provide lunch for us today. And we greatly appreciate that. So thank you very, very much. Would you like to tell us a little bit about VBE and how we can support you?
Sure. So I'm Christine Schwendinger, Executive Director for Valley Builders Exchange. We are a membership organization. We're a 501c6. And our members are usually, most of the time, they're wanting to be a member because they want online access to bid on jobs. We're public works. We're not really too much in the housing. We have you here for that. A lot of our members are more industrial and commercial. So we've been around for this year. We celebrated 75 years of business and just super excited. I've been there 3 years now and I have a great board. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. So I've introduced myself. So let's go clockwise starting here. We'll go around the room and then we'll go to the folks on the line.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Lizette Rocha. I'm the membership coordinator here at the Chamber.
Hi, good morning. I'm Trish Christensen, President and CEO of the Modesto Chamber of Commerce.
Good morning, Steve Addison with Stanco, a member of the Chamber and also a member of Valley Builders Exchange.
Good morning, Kelly Telemartin. I'm the property manager for Vintage Fair Mall.
I'm Peggy O'Donnell, I consult in Valley Solutions. I'm on the Chamber board.
Ramon Mendez, I'm an ambassador, welcome to member of the Chamber, and I'm also working with CISPRO website design.
Nick DeCusley, representing the Stanislaus County Board of Supervisors and Supervisor Manager.
Justin Farkas, representing the California State Assembly and Assemblyman Juan Alves.
John Manson, American Lumber Company, and a member of the Chamber, and I think we're a member of the Valley.
So Cecil Russell with Sylvan Financial. Have two memberships with the Chamber, one for Sylvan Financial and one for the Video Museum.
Hi, John Beckman, CEO of the Building Industry Association of Greater Valley.
Donna Linder, Stanislaus County Clerk.
John Valines, I'm on the Chamber Board and this year the External Operations Vice Chair and former GRC Chair. And I'm with the Modesto Gospel Mission and we too are celebrating our 75th year this year. So
Excellent. And thank you for your continued service on this board and with this organization. We'll go to the folks on the line. I'm going to call them out.
All right, Chris.
Chris Rickey, Modesto City Council representing District 3.
Okay, Jason.
Yeah, Jason Conway, Modesto Gospel Mission.
All right, Todd.
Todd Aronson, Visit Modesto, and don't forget the Almond Blossom Cruise next month.
Awesome, thank you. Keenan.
Hi, Keenan Craig, CEO for Second Harvest of the Greater Valley.
Perfect. Heather.
Heather Jones, Senior Community Development Specialist for the City of Modesto.
And Peter. Whoops. Oh,
I fell off right as she said it.
It's a little shy.
If he comes back in, we can introduce.
Okay, but for now we should go.
That's all.
Okay, John, I went ahead and signed your name in here. And then when it gets back over to the end, if you can return it and we'll capture the folks on the line for the minutes. Really appreciate that. So everybody should have received the meeting minutes from Stephen. If there are no additions, corrections, or discussions, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the November GRC member meeting since we were dark in December. Cecil, one. Second. Peggy?
I'll second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Excellent, thank you. So we had a first from Cecil, a second from Peggy. And the motion carries. Before we move into report outs, I'd like to take a moment to quickly cover the 2022 general election results for awareness. We were heavily involved in supporting some of the candidates and many of the measures. So we'll just go through that very quickly. MID Board of Directors, Division 2, Janice Keating defeated Frank Damrell Jr. by about 900 votes. Division 3, Robert Frobos defeated Nick DeKuzlian by about 2,000 votes. Division 4, John Bohr defeated Stu Gilman by about 1,600 votes. Modesto City Council, District 2, Eric Alvarez ran unopposed. District 4, Nick Bavaro also ran unopposed. District 5, Jeremiah Williams defeated Naramzam Goriel by about 3,400 votes. In the Assembly, District 9, Heath Flora ran unopposed. District 22, Ron Alanis defeated Jessica Self by about 15,000 votes. In the Senate, District 4, Marie Alvarado Gill defeated Tim Robertson by about 15,000 votes. In Congress, District 5, the incumbent McClintock defeated Michael Barkley by about 35,000 votes. District 13, John Duarte defeated Adam Gray by about 500 votes. And the two measures here in town both passed. Measure H, which the 1% sales tax increase, passed by about 13,000 votes or 62%. And Measure L, the school bond for high school locations only, passed by about 8,000 votes or 56%. Do you have anything to add on that? Thank you for all of your help. Your team, I think, did a tremendous job. That was a big lift. Lots going on in that last election. Any questions on any of that stuff? Okay, so we will move into report outs, which we've always done, which I look forward to the most. I will look to the city of Modesto. I see Councilmember Ricky on. I can't see who else is on the line. I'm scanning the room here. Anybody else with a city, but we can start with Councilmember Ricky if you want to come offline.
Yeah, thank you so much. Just a few quick updates for y'all. I think probably the biggest struggle that I'm feeling with residents right now is our new 3-can system and how that's being kind of integrated into the community. There's been a ton of complaints on kind of the rollout and specifically the every other week nature of the green can. We're having lots of residents complain about their cans getting too heavy because they're so full they can't get them out to the street every other week, or they're overfilled, they have too much vegetation. So I just want everyone to know that the council's aware of these issues, and the 3-can system is a pilot program for this year. And then we have to keep the 3 cans, but we can make adjustments to the program. And so our plan is to, hopefully make some adjustments if everyone agrees on that. So that's what I'm hoping for. Other things that we're working on, vacant commercial building ordinance. I think that's something that a lot of different districts in Modesto are really having a hard time with, especially if you're looking at kind of District 1 and the CISC triangle kind of over by the Costco over there. You've got the Osh, you've got, Toys R Us, you've got Save Mart, you've got all these abandoned big box stores that are creating blight, and they're becoming, targets for vandalism. They're becoming places where criminal activity takes place. So we need to do something to try to encourage landlords to take more responsibility for their properties. Another thing we're working on is bulky item pickup. Expanding that program to also envelop multi unit residences. So right now your bulky item pickup only is available for single family homes, whereas the bulk of the dumping takes place because people in apartments are way more likely to move than people in single family homes. So the city has passed a new multi-unit bulky item pickup program through committee. I expect that to go to council within the next couple of months. And then we should start getting that program off the ground. And we should see the city's forecasting a reduction in dumping by 25 to 40%. So I'm excited about it. I'll again reiterate that the future of Center Plaza is a big question that's going to be coming to the council in the next 6 months. It's something that we need to really focus on. I'm also hopeful that the city hires an auditor in the next 6 months. That's one of my priorities. And finally, I want to double back on the safe parking in that the council passed last year. We're still waiting for some of our partners to give us the go-ahead, but that's something that we intend to put into motion as soon as possible. And thank you for the time.
Excellent. Any questions for the council member? Appreciate the thorough update. Anybody else from the city of Modesto? How about from Stanislaus County? I don't see Jody or anything. Sure.
So I am over elections and quarter. So in elections, we do have an election right now. It's a school board election in Oakdale. So we are doing that, but we will be starting to ramp up for 2024 already because the primary is in March. So we're going to be doing some voter roll cleanup. So if you registered a long time ago, you might get a letter saying, hey, let's update your signature. We are also, even though by law, we have as many vote centers as law requires, we want to have more. So if any of you know of a building that's, got a pretty good size space and would be willing to rent to us for 10 days or 4 days, please let us know because we do need more locations. And on the clerk reporter side, we are in the process of moving to electronic recording and have already started electronic recording between government.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions for Donna? Should we move to Board of Supervisors? Excellent.
So obviously there's been a lot of rain. There's been a state of emergency in Stanislaus County. So a lot of the board's actions over the past couple of weeks have been trying to mitigate that as best as we can. So on the west side, there's been a lot of work done to make sure that folks are safe, evacuated. Thankfully, we seem to have a lot of that. It's getting better as it's not raining as much. And then including more on that ARPA funding for more investments in the community. You'll see more on Tuesday's meeting about that. We're looking at adding sidewalks in West Modesto and other infrastructure updates. And I think that this rain and the flooding that we've seen has just shown the need for improvements on infrastructure in the county. So that's really where the board is focusing on, using the ARPA money that we receive from the federal government and throw that right back into our community infrastructure updates. So that's kind of what we've been focusing on the past couple weeks.
Okay, thank you. How about moving into Assembly Member Juan Alanis?
Yeah, sure. So Juan has finished his 45th day as an elected official as of yesterday. He received all of our committee assignments as of yesterday as well. Juan has been appointed as Vice Chair of Public Safety Committee. On top of that, he's also been appointed to the Agriculture Committee, the Budget Committee, the Budget Subcommittee on Health and Services, Business and Professions, Human Services, and Water, Parks, and Wildlife. Juan's also had the opportunity to introduce 4 bills so far in the legislature: AB 17, ACA 2, AB 243, and AB 255. AB 17 covers they call it an intention bill, very much saying that it's the intention of the state legislature to, in this case, reduce the tax rates on low and middle income families. ACA 2 would provide a 3%, it allots 3% of the general fund revenue toward water infrastructure and wildfire prevention. AB 243 would allow for victims of child abduction to enroll in the Safe at Home program to help them feel safe and their address can't be accessed through public records. And as of yesterday, he also introduced AB 255, which gives priority registration in public colleges and universities to first responders. Given last year, we added new requirements to sworn peace officers, the requirement to have a bachelor's degree. So we're trying to make that transition easier so we can help get more sworn officers onto our departments here locally. Juan's also sponsored a few bills as well, including one that would create tax preferred savings and investment accounts for childcare expenses, increasing charges for narcotics and opiate related deaths, providing Narcan to public schools and charter schools, and a gas tax suspension. So that's kind of the legislative things that we were working on. I'm sure you guys heard during the campaign. A lot of those things are promises that we made and that Juan made in terms of securing water, affordability, and public safety. And so those are kind of the ideas that we're getting. Oh, I missed one actually. We also co-sponsored AB 46. I handed out some info for you guys on ACA 2 and AB 46. AB 46 is a bill which would help alleviate the tax burden on veterans. Not many people know this, but California is the only state in the country that fully taxes the benefits of veterans and the survivor benefits of their spouses. This would help alleviate that and make us not be the black sheep in the country.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. It's very nice meeting you. Thank you
Nice
for
meeting you as well.
attending. Always welcome to come and report out. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
Sure.
So for the public safety officers, the bill is to augment the funding for them to receive the college credits.
So no, it would just help provide them priority registration. So usually in the college system, there's like a tiered system, whether you're like an athlete or low income, minority, whatever it may be. It would just place them higher on that priority tier list to get into the classes that they need to get their bachelor's degree.
Thank you for that.
Anybody with Senate, Congress? I'm online, not seeing any as I scan the attendee list here. Does anybody know who is Duarte's like district director or field rep by any chance?
Kriston Santos is representing.
Okay, I'll reach out to you afterwards offline to grab that info. That'd be really helpful. We'll encourage them to attend. Utilities, MID.
Well, so I think probably the firm board would not accept me as a representative of the MID. But anyway, so I'm flying an independent flag, although I did think wear my MID shirt today. So the election did not go the way I had hoped. Basically, the farmers have taken over the board in convincing style. They have 4 out of 5 seats. Janice is bravely holding up the interests of the city of Modesto. And what happened, among other things, was the employee union, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, decided to go all in supporting the farmers' slate. And so that was decisive. They spent a lot of money and they had a lot of their workers walking the precincts. And so Director Stu Gilman, who had been a very good director for 5 years, he got hammered with a very negative campaign. It was a very unfair campaign. There were just absolute lies in the attacks on him. And but again, I think what really hurt him was all the people in the IBEW blocking the precincts, because the elections have fundamentally changed. In the old days, MID elections were off year, relatively few people voted. Now it's an even year election and everybody gets an absentee ballot, so you get a much higher turnout. And so it's a much more expensive, much harder campaign than it used to be. And then Nick ran a race against a gentleman named Robert Frobos. Mr. Frobos is a very, how do I say it? From my point of view, he's not a very sophisticated or polite guy. And so I'm disappointed that Nick didn't win. But again, it was kind of the same situation. The IBEW spent a lot of money for Mr. Frobos. So we have a board that is, in a perfect world, a board like the MID or the city council is diverse. It has many different types of people. Unfortunately, the MID board, as we see it now, is not diverse. It's basically 4 farmers who have a lot in common. And I don't know that it's going to be a disaster immediately, but I am concerned. And by the way, there'll be an agenda published probably towards the late afternoon, evening here. There might be some interesting things on that. So I've heard that on. So anyway, it's kind of a difficult situation now. And the good news, the fundamental fight we've had at the MID is to protect our water rights. And we came to a deal with the state of California to do that. The problem with that deal is that the state of California can renege it anytime. So the state is, the process and procedure are very complicated. Deal has to go through environmental work and analysis. It will go before the State Water Resources Control Board, maybe in a year or two. And that's an independent board. So if they wanted to reject it in a year or two, they could. Then we'd be back at ground zero. So we hope that won't happen. It appears the Newsom administration is committed to the deal we had, but things can always change. And so at the moment, it's a good deal for us. And it's one that we can live with. And so I hope that it'll go through. And it will also, once it is finally approved by the state, it'll have to be approved by the MID and TID boards of directors, as well as the city and county of San Francisco. So I think, by the way, that one reason we got a very good deal is we share the Tuolumne River with San Francisco. So something like 2.6 million people in the Bay Area, not just San Francisco, but others, get their domestic water from the Tuolumne River. And San Francisco's water rights are actually junior to those of MID and TID. So frankly, I think that that's the problem was there was no easy path for the state of California to take our water without threatening the water supply of the Bay Area. So I think that the people, the authorities in San Francisco knew that. And I think behind the scenes, they worked very hard to get a deal that we can all live with. So far so good, but we'll just have to wait for a couple more years to see what.
Any questions or comments for?
I do, John, after the census, was there any adjustment to the districts for the directors?
So we actually, the MID did spend a little bit of money to have consultants look at the district lines. So apparently no change was required. There is. So interestingly enough, the seat that I used to represent, the seat that Janet represents, is the largest district in terms of the number of people. And so, but apparently it's within parameters that it is allowed. So to answer your question, the boundaries didn't change. And just so everybody understands the way the MID boundaries are drawn, there's one seat, which is the heart of Modesto. It's 100% Modesto. That's the seat Janice won. The other 4 seats have significant chunks of Modesto, but they also have significant chunks of the countryside. And I think the intention there is to maximize the power of the agricultural interests. Now, for the record, we all support agriculture in Stanislaus County. It's our #1 economic driver. It's something we're world class and we should be proud of it. I'm certainly proud of it. But anyway, the whole thing, the whole system is set up so that in those 4 districts, they're big enough that they, in terms of agricultural territory, that you can always find a farmer that will run and be a decent candidate. And so it magnifies the farmer's power a little bit. Again, I'm not anti-farmer, but basically it's pretty well known that the MID electric rates are a little bit higher than the real true cost of service, and the water rates are a little bit lower than the true cost of service. So the farmers have been getting a good deal for a long time.
Quick question. So last week I was able to go out with TID, the series where they're working on this new pilot program for restoring aquifers with flood irrigation. I guess that we got to talk to DWR and those groups in Sacramento. They talked about how that's kind of where their priority lies. Is that something that we're looking at integrating with MID as well, or starting a similar pilot program? Or is water storage more of a priority for MID? What is the priority?
Well, first of all, it turns out that underground water storage is by far the best. And the reason is it's really hard to build a dam. I mean, consider that, was it 6 or 8 years ago, we passed a multi-billion-dollar bond issue to provide new storage. There's a reservoir called Sites. Sites is an off-site reservoir, so we're not interfering with migrating salmon. It should be an absolutely uncontroversial project. They still haven't broken ground on it. They still are, and they've got a lot of money to build it. They've gotten subsidies or grants from the federal government. They got some of this bond money. but it's probably gonna be another 5 years before it's built, if by then. So it's really hard to build surface water storage. Whereas groundwater is utterly uncontroversial. And so, and particularly in our region, we can recharge the groundwater through flood irrigation. And so, a lot of water is spoken for in California, but when we have floods like we just had and had a massive amount of rain, it's not spoken for. And so nobody would object to flood irrigating when you have a flood. And in fact, Modesto Irrigation District and Turlock have together applied for a water right to take floodwaters in the future for flood irrigation of the territory. And so give Turlock a lot of credit for taking some drainage water that was available and doing that project. So MID is a little bit behind in this, but having said that, one problem is we tend to do maintenance on our canals during the winter, and so we haven't traditionally thought about having them up and running to distribute floodwaters, but I believe that could be relatively easily changed. There's some concern that floodwaters in the winter might damage permanent crops like almonds. Although it appears that as long as you have the right soil type, probably not, but that's an issue that they're still researching. So I think so yeah, what we need to do is when we have floodwaters, we needed to divert those floodwaters onto the land for groundwater recharge. That's absolutely a great idea. And there, by the way, there's a groundwater sustainability agency, one for what's called the Modesto subbasin, which is between the Tuolumne, San Joaquin, and Stanislaus, and then the other for Turlock. The Turlock subbasin is defined by the Tuolumne and the San Joaquin, and then it kind of goes down towards, I guess, the Merced. And so, so those groundwater agencies have developed plans which include groundwater recharge. And so, for instance, it's envisioned that in years where there's surplus water, MID and Oakdale, and our portion of the territory, will supply water for groundwater recharge and for specific projects. So, for instance, besides doing flood irrigation, you might build small reservoirs that could be used for recharge.
Okay, thanks, John. Appreciate that. Great questions from everybody. I don't see anybody from AT&T, Comcast, any of the other utilities. Quick update from PG&E. We are beginning to resume normal operations after responding to what was mentioned already, one of the most impactful winter storms we've experienced as a company since 1995. Wind speeds topped 100 miles an hour, rainfall set records in many areas. 25 inches fell just outside of Fresno County by Wishon Dam. That was not a typo, incredible amount of rain. 2.8 million is the number of customers we safely restored since December 30th. 9,500 is the number of locations we've repaired broken poles, down conductor, and other damage. 8,000 represents the number of grab-and-go bags containing water, snacks, battery packs, and other items to customers in need. And 6.9 million represents the calls, texts, and emails that we sent out to customers, and not to mention the countless media and social media responses that we handled. We are currently supporting a disaster recovery center that FEMA has set up at the fairgrounds in Merced County. It's open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. This past Wednesday through next Wednesday. They'll likely extend that time. That is supporting the customers that experienced severe flooding, not only in the city of Merced, but also in the town of Planada, where we had to shut off power for public safety approximately 2 weeks ago. But those folks, customers, constituents, the members of our community are going through a really, really tough time right now. Not to mention the folks in the Central Coast and Northern California that we're also supporting re-energization and restoral. So a lot going on in my neck of the woods, but keep those folks in your thoughts as they try to pull through after losing everything. League of California Cities, for those of you who know Stephen Qualls, he is likely sitting in a chair in the parking lot, patiently awaiting the 49er game, making a 3-day event out of this, maybe a 4-day event if they win. So he is unable to join us today.
And he will have to take Ubers.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah, or rent an Airbnb for a week to get out of there. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce today's guest speaker, Steve Madison. He is the Executive Director of Stanislaus County Affordable Housing Corp., or STANCO. And today's topic for discussion, as shown on the screen here, is contemporary approaches to housing and homelessness. And we can enlarge that. And you let us know
Just do the plus sign.
when you would like us to advance the slide, and we'll advance for you. But the floor is all yours.
So normally I wouldn't do this, but I don't want to keep turning my back up until the screen. Am I in the right spot? Because I know we have folks online. Okay, so we're Stanislaus County Affordable Housing Corporation is a 501c3 corporation, which is not for profit. And I find it interesting as a not-for-profit executive that people think we're supposed to lose money at what we do. And we don't do that because no margin in the mission. We can't help people if we don't make a margin in what we do. Next slide, please. Just at a glance, we have 10 million in assets. And you're probably thinking, well, that's not very much, Steve, but I want to clarify that. We use this number because it's consistent, one, with what's on our balance sheet, and two, what we report in taxes, and three, we can't use our properties for collateral on loans for construction or affordable housing. So there's really no need to go to the actual value of our properties, but it's significantly higher than this. We have 88 units of housing that we own, and we manage another 182 units of housing for folks such as the Regional Housing Authority, for the Community Services Agency, for the County of Stanislaus, and for Stanislaus Equity Partners. And we have recently negotiated agreements to manage a couple more properties, but I'm not able to disclose those until all the funding and everything closes on those properties. But when I came to this organization, we were struggling financially, and I did a 5-year strategic plan, and I told the board we need to diversify what we do. We can't just rely on rents for affordable housing because nobody's going to make it that way. I didn't think. And so one of the things we branched into is property management. Next slide, please. So what do? We go out and acquire and entitle land for new housing. We acquire and renovate existing housing. And, I want to focus on this just a little bit. One of the criticisms that I receive when I'm in front of an elected body is, why don't we just buy existing housing and use that? But the funding sources that we receive to provide affordable housing have requirements for accessibility, have requirements for energy efficiency, have requirements for all kinds of things that make it just about as expensive to renovate existing housing as to build new construction. But we find properties that often work for us, so we do a little of both. We construct affordable housing. We don't do the construction ourselves. We're project managers. We competitively bid the projects, and folks construct those for us. We provide property management services, and one of the interesting things we do is we manage some shelter facilities. They're short-term stay shelter facilities, and the county has really gone all out on a cold weather shelter out at the Empire Migrant Center, and then the family housing facility on 9th Street is mostly single moms, kids who were homeless, and we're able to get them into the family housing facility, provide services, provide support. The school system gets involved, the various agencies get involved, and we get the folks on their feet and move them up the next rung of the ladder so that they can get into housing and help stabilize their living situation. And we started managing that facility several years ago, and it's sometimes challenging, but it's also very rewarding, particularly when we run into our clients and they're in the in the supermarket, and they're pushing their cart and they're getting their groceries and they're going home to their homes. So we do accomplish things. We don't always toot our horn, but we do accomplish things. Next slide, please. Other types of housing that we sponsor is short-term crisis shelter housing. What this is we have both a women's and a men's facility. And when either law enforcement or mental health professionals identify somebody who's at risk of either incarceration or being hospitalized for a psychiatric issue, we can bring them into short-term crisis housing where there's 24/7 support in the housing to keep them out of jail, to keep them out of hospital emergency rooms, to keep them out of a locked facility. It saves the taxpayers money. It's better for the client that they don't go into those facilities because they can't receive the attention that they might receive from somebody right there with them, helping them through their crisis. Transitional housing is another area that we're heavy in. What transitional housing is somebody who comes out of a shelter or out of even homelessness can stay in transitional housing for up to 2 years. Typically, it's 18 months, sometimes less. And all the resources are provided by other entities and agencies, not Stanco, to get them benefits, to get them housing vouchers, and get them moved into some form of permanent housing. The notion is, and by way of background, for a long time, I was a paramedic. And the reason I got into this is because I used to run calls on the same folks over and over and over. And it was just simple. They didn't want to be out in the elements, or they needed some attention. They were hungry, they wanted to get a shower. And so the whole idea behind transitional housing is if you can stabilize somebody's living situation, you have a much better opportunity at stabilizing other things in their lives and moving them into a situation where they can better improve their living, better improve their health, their relationships with others. Did you have a question?
On your short-term prices, how long is that? For the
Yeah, typically a couple days at a time. Sometimes longer, but I haven't seen folks stay much more than about 7 days. And you know, I should mention that also includes sometimes families want to keep a loved one home that has a serious mental illness, and sometimes it's just, you know, the drama in the home is just such that the family needs a break. And they can bring their loved one to the short-term shelter, give them a break, get the client stabilized, and then they can go back into the family home. And you know, that's a big thing in affordable housing is retention. Just try to keep folks in housing that they're in, so that the other units of housing can become available for other folks. We also do affordable rental housing that isn't tied to any type of crisis, mental health. We have facilities in West Modesto, Turlock, and up off of Carver. Next slide, please. So I think all of us travel throughout the community. We see people on the sidewalk, we see them under temporary shelters, we see them pushing carts, and we're wondering, you know, why aren't those folks in housing? Why aren't they in the shelter? Why won't they go to the shelter? Well, guess what? Some unhoused folks just, they don't want to receive any shelter. They don't want to receive any services. And there isn't a whole lot that any of us can do about it. Some folks aren't housing ready. And that's the whole idea behind the ladder from shelter to transitional housing to permanent supportive housing, where they're put into housing and they receive supports, which may be utilities, it may be other things. And then they move on to a permanent housing situation. I think we all recognize in California that care for the mentally ill is severely lacking. And it's easy to identify that a lot of the folks that we see that are unhoused have other issues. And a lot of it has to do with mental illness. And then I just want to make this comment. We talked earlier about Narcan in the schools and other things like that. Substance abuse in our community is really a terrible situation. And we find housing folks that almost not all, but almost all of the problems that manifest in somebody losing their housing has to do with substance abuse. And it means they don't pay their utilities because they're using the money for other things. They don't pay the rent because they're using the money for other things. They're not feeding their children because they're using the money for other things. And so what folks see in the community, they realize that there's a problem, but think about what's going on behind the walls of housing. We've got a major problem in front of us and we've got a lot of work to do. Next slide, please. So what do we need to work on? Well, I mentioned earlier that there's folks who just don't want to be housed. So why can't we have well-managed camping areas or safe parking areas where people can go? It's safe. They're not going to cause a problem. Nobody's going to come onto the site and cause a problem for them. It's probably better than occupying a street corner or something like that. So look forward to seeing, if some of those may pop up and perhaps help with the situation. Accessory dwelling units. There are multiple jurisdictions in the county that have approved plans for different size accessory dwelling units. And it's over-the-counter application to add an ADU in a lot size that's sufficient to put another dwelling unit on that property. And there are no fees associated with it. And just here in the last couple of weeks, Stanco has purchased a couple of properties. And I'm looking at properties differently now. I'm looking at properties with large or deep backyards so that we can situate ADUs in the back and get two families on the same lot. And I really think that if we do the ADUs properly and we build a sustainable unit, that we could rapidly house folks, we could more rapidly house folks than trying new construction or buying a or something like that. I've advocated to many that very austere single room residency arrangements for folks who want to drop in and use housing and then get back into something differently. It doesn't need to be hotel quality. It needs to be safe and provide the creature comforts and provide the opportunity for hygiene and things like that. There is no such facility in Modesto. The closest we came to it is during COVID. One of the local hotels was used to shelter folks who got homeless. And, I think the folks who could fix the funding for it, and pardon my abbreviations, but that made it fit on the slide. So the legislative funding to fix serious mental illness care in the community and substance use disorder is going to have to come from the legislature. And this, we're going to have to make it a priority. So I powered through because I'm respectful of the time, but I'm happy to answer any questions folks may have.
Do you work with or in alignment with the Camp to Home program the city is doing?
We're aware of it, and we actually have taken some of their folks and made them resident managers at some of our facilities.
Cool.
And that provides them, one, with a place to live, and two, we provide a stipend for expenses. And as they improve their lot in life, then they move on, and we're happy to do that.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh.
someone has a question.
Cover the slide. Okay.
Chris?
Thank you. You mentioned well-managed, safe camping and parking sites. Safe camping is one of my big priorities to try to get done, along with several other council members, including Councilmember Bavaro and Councilmember Alvarez. I don't know where the rest of the council stands on it because of the Brown Act, but there is a lot of resistance within the bureaucracy to kind of creating safe camping. And so I just wanted to see, well, first of all, let you know that there's a lot of support for it on the council. And I want to just extend a hand that we're very interested in cooperating with groups like yours to make this happen, because right now what we're doing is we don't have any programs. And so what happens is we end up just using our parks as homeless day shelters and homeless camping facilities, just because they're happening anyway, basically. And so because we're not acting, we're seeing the results of that inaction. So we're interested in anything we can do to support these kinds of programs.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will move into other business and announcements. I just want to bring everyone's attention to Kirsty Boyette Zacharias, who is our new chairperson of the board of directors.
Chair. I try to do this, I go to my meetings, but
For the 2023 year and the 2024 year, so a 2-year term. Thank you so much for stepping up and taking this important leadership role on and working with Trish and her staff. I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. I've got big shoes to fill, along with Michael, and I look forward to being your chamber board president. And I mean, I don't know if anyone has talked about what you did yesterday. I probably will touch on it, but Trish organized 4,200 eighth graders and 6,100 booths, 61 booths at Center Plaza. And I went down and everyone was ecstatic. The kids were having fun. I've got feedback from a lot of the vendors or people that were at the booths. And it was your first year and you did a great job. And it raises me up on what the chamber can do in our community. And I appreciate you all being here. And I love the GRC meeting. And so chamber's doing great things. So please continue to these meetings. Great job. Thank you. Yeah.
Do you want to add anything to yesterday's event, Trish?
I've
heard nothing
don't
but
know.
great feedback.
I think
on
we're a little too tired to think too much about this event. Everyone looks a little dazed today, I've noticed. It was 91 booths and 4,200 eighth graders. It was a direct partnership with Modesto City School District and the Business and Education Committee. So other partners clearly were involved. Modesto Junior College, and who is, we have a board member representing as well. Valley Builders as well. There's a mix of partners. Modesto City School District fronted the rollout of the education piece. So they represented about 60 elements of career pathways that are being taught in their high schools. We cast the invite out to all the school districts within the county. 4 of them accepted. We knew going into it that bringing this to an in-person environment is a foreign concept. So we also believe that after some people see it, it'll make more sense for next time. So they filled about 60, we filled about 30 with businesses and partners and sponsors. We held it at Modesto Center Plaza and we maxed out. We couldn't fit any more booths or really any more students. And the parking lot cannot hold the amount of buses. We moved 26 buses in and out of that parking lot and 11th Street, which the chamber had to get no parking zones set for the day. There are about 10,000 other moving parts to that event we did yesterday, but we felt really good about it. I think we're all extremely proud of the accomplishment because until we got there, we didn't exactly know what it was going to look like. And this is a step up targeted for 8th graders coming off of the virtual version that we launched during COVID, targeting 6th graders. And we will cast a new invite for businesses that want to have students come out this time now that we're out of COVID and capture interview and video of a day in the life of their workplaces. And that goes on a virtual platform that we have on ICE right now. And we have students at Enox High School taking our Google Sheet platform and converting it into a website, which is what we'll launch again when we go public with that. The platform as it is, we've added stuff into it over a couple of years that is going to be re-released to 6th grade teachers throughout the county within the month. And there's an interest inventory involved and 6th grade students get to explore careers in a virtual manner. And then we'll bring back the 8th grade one in person where they get to interact with businesses, ask questions. They did an interest inventory as well. So a lot of parts to it. And it was key that we get it done somewhere between Thanksgiving and now because they ballot for classes in 2 weeks. And we wanted to catch them before they do that so that they can kind of have an idea what it would look like when they make their choices in high school. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Great job. And the other thing I want to say is we have our soiree next Thursday. And if any of you are interested in going, I have $5 for tickets that I'd love to give to anyone that'd like to join me, my husband, and my best friend.
Unless they want to sponsor.
Unless you want to sponsor. We buy your own ticket. I'm saying, I'd love to have you as my guest if you're.
Excellent. And yeah, so you mentioned two pretty large events, the larger events in Modesto. I think last year at the soiree that was hosted at the Gallo Center, we almost outgrew that. We had over 400 people attend. Maybe this is a question for Councilmember Ricky, but what is the future of the Modesto Century Plaza? I guess I've kind of been out on the loop.
I think he stepped off.
Oh, did he? Okay, I'm out. I'm not in the loop
You
on that.
anticipated your question.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if we're gonna have to move future events outside of Modesto to Great Wolf Lodge and other larger venues if we lose that. But I don't know anything about
I will say, Felicia and I spent another hour at Center Plaza today. We have, oops. Yeah, I'm gonna let string this, getting ready for soiree. So we ran logistics today for next Thursday's event. And I can tell you the DoubleTree is going through a multi-million-dollar facelift. Their lobby is gutted right now. And a lot of their extra stuff is now pushed into the lobby of Center Plaza, and our event's gonna benefit from the use of that free stuff sitting there. So, yeah, if the DoubleTrees get in a facelift, hopefully we can tip that towards Center Plaza getting a facelift. We also saw a room, we were with them looking for a podium, and they opened a door, and I sort of saw where they've had water issues from a leak in the roof, so it needs some TLC at this point.
Any questions on that, on those two events? Okay, so in addition to the announcement on Kirsty, we also brought in just again for awareness, some new board members to round us out. So Kelly Talent with Macerich, who's the leasing agent for Vintage Fair Mall, has joined our board. Stephen Qualls with California League of Cities has joined our board. Christine Sweninger, which just left a few moments ago with BBE, has joined our board. And Afrika Duhaney West with Kaiser Permanente, the new regional VP for the Central Valley region, has also joined our board. So we've picked up some board members. We've resurrected what we're calling auxiliary members. Our bylaws said that we can do so, and the reason for that is to build a bigger bench. There's an awful lot of interest in joining the board of the Modesto Chamber of Commerce, and that is a great problem to have. So now when we experience folks either leaving their place of work who is a member or leaving the area, resignations, et cetera, we can tap into those auxiliary members to become full-fledged board members. So we are very, very excited about that. We welcome you, Kelly. You're still in the room here. Welcome, 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 and thank you for your service. Discussion.
The Vintage Fair Mall might be a good location for a large.
Yeah, yes, could be. Shut it down.
Join
Dave
our
Buster's.
soiree, buy your own dress while you're there.
Discussion of future meetings and presenters. These meetings are for you. I've said it every meeting that I facilitate. We want to hear from you. Please give us, email us, write them down and leave them on the table. Topics of interest, presenters, organizations, elected officials, you name it. Who do you want to hear from? And we will get them here. Hopefully we will continue to be blessed with lunch, a meal here, which I love. I love a hot lunch, so we can enjoy a meal together. So again, thank you, Valley Builders Exchange. Our next presenter, Adam Barth, who is the CEO of the Regional Transit Authority, or STAN RTA, will be coming in next month on February 17th to talk to us about new routes and connections on the S. And they have graciously sponsored lunch too. So we have another hot meal to look forward to that we can share with one another. So I encourage all future guest speakers and organizations to keep that going. We're going to be 2 months in with 2 months in a row of a nice hot lunch and a meal that we can share together. So I appreciate that. You'll take March. Okay, excellent. And even if you're not presenting, you can still sponsor the lunch. So I'm going to put you down. So thank you for that. That's huge and very generous.
What about Jeff Duarte? John Duarte, sorry.
So before you walked in, I'm going to hook up with Nick offline and get information for his district director and his field reps, and we'll make sure that we encourage them to attend. I'm not sure We had that when we sent out the calendar invitation. There's a couple gaps that we're gonna fill.
They're
And-
still waiting on their official emails too, because
okay, great. Okay,
everything is delayed.
No problem. Understood, yeah. Yeah, so we'll continue to work on that, so jot that down, we'll add that to the list. But please flip an agenda over on your way out. It's anonymous, write them down, and I'll personally reach out to these folks and just say, hey, there's an overwhelming amount of people that would like to hear from you and put some pressure on, so. The only way to get folks in here, hot lunch and good speakers, so. I would bore you with topics that I want to hear about.
And can we like say like the chamber does a Facebook post that says?
Yeah, so there's
And then
free,
share it,
there's
so
free
it can
advertising,
increase
yeah,
the
absolutely.
energy and it's-
Yep, it's gonna boost, you know, the logo, the brand, it's gonna raise awareness. You'll be acknowledged in Progress Magazine, recognition on social media, on our website. All of our distribution list goes out to over 1,000 businesses, so it's a good marketing tool at a pretty fairly cheap price to pay,
Yeah.
so. Am I missing anything?
No, I'll add a couple. Our promotion of these were a little dark during holidays. We had a couple staff turnover and sort of, had to put the pieces back together, but we've also spent quite a bit of time together in leadership focused on getting people back in to give reports. So I appreciate all of you that came today. And we have the sponsorship opportunity up just for that branding piece that Michael's referring to. So really appreciate the investment back in us and what we're doing.
Any questions or comments from the folks on the line?
Amalette joined.
Open discussion. Hi, Amalette. I don't see her there, but she's with us.
Hi, how's it
Oh,
going?
very, very good. Hope to see you in person next month.
Yes, hopefully I'll be able to join you guys next month.
Please do. Bring Amy with you. She's still with Golden Valley.
Definitely, yes, I will.
We'd love to see her as well.
Thank you.
If there's nothing more, I'd like to adjourn the meeting at 12:35 PM. Give you a half hour back.
Can I just throw out on or off? One more event is on February, well, two on February 9th. One other program that we have is our Rising Professionals. Quarterly, we're hosting a Rise and Shine breakfast with 3 different leaders. Either CEOs or execs, just that tier. And the focus is on leadership and it's very conversational. So on February 9th, we are leaning into education and leadership in education. So we will have Superintendent Kuykendall with Stanislaus County Office of Ed with Superintendent Noguchi from Modesto City Schools and retired George Bedrukas from the MJC Foundation. So they're going to share their trajectory and their insights and kind of inspirational leadership, and it'll be sort of touching in and through education. So join us for those. We haven't pinpointed our location, but those are breakfast events and they've been really well received.
It's a confirming change from second to.
Yes, because we're just too close to these 2 events. We can't even stand up. That event in a week, we needed another week. And then later that evening, we will be having the first of the year mix and mingle with direct clients.
Sounds right.
When did that seem to have been when I'm doing the remodel?
Yeah. Well, you know, the last one we did with them, they had done the bottom floor. Now they're ready to unveil the top, is my understanding. That's all I have, Michael. Thank you.
Cool. Appreciate everyone's attendance. Thank you so much. Great questions. And feedback again, please leave topics for discussion on the front table. Looks like more drinks, more food. Feel free to stick around. And safe travels. Have a great
Thank you all.
weekend. Enjoy.